Hello, hello. Thank you so much for watching. So, as you probably know, my name is Cheryl, and I had offered to my friends and clients and team a little session on mindset and some of the things I've learned from the lovely and amazing coach Karen Mullins, who uses material from Proctor Gallagher. So I'm going to share with you some of the things that I've learned from her, some of the things I'm doing to hang on to a more healthy, a more positive mindset during this crazy time that we're in, because we are in a crazy time, right? Like there's nothing else that we can say about that. It just is. So here, for example, is one sort of example of what has been happening lately. It's been nuts for me and my family because we bought a house in a new neighborhood that we're really excited about, and we needed to sell our house. So what a time to put a house on the market, right? But here we are, we need to do it. And so we've been racing around getting it ready earlier than we had planned, but I had this gut feeling that it was going to be fine. It was going to sell. And I mean, it's a good house in a great neighborhood, like we have everything going for us, but it's a crazy time. So I happened across a little chat actually about the state of the real estate market, and just happened to see realtors chatting about how things weren't going well and the market probably wasn't going to come back until the fall or maybe even next spring. Nobody's buying, nobody's selling. And you guys, here's the thing. We sold our house under contract. People are looking. Now we have to do all kinds of crazy safety measures, not crazy intense, smart safety measures in order for someone to look at the house. Like, I get that, we have to be responsible, but anything can happen at this time if we look at things in a certain way. So thank you for watching, whether you're watching live or whether you're watching the replay. And if we have time, I'm absolutely open to questions at the end. I'm going to try to keep this under a half an hour just so you don't have too much to look at. So we'll see how it goes. Okay. So my point is, if we expect good things to happen, and if we focus on something that's a bit more ideal than all the sometimes we get those things, and we can't necessarily control the outside world. Well, we can't control the outside world, but we can control the inside world. And so when we feel out of control in terms of what's going on outside us, we can be in control of our thinking. We can be in control of the ideas that we're just replaying in our heads all the time. Because we all have, and it sounds so crazy to say it, but we all have that voice talking to us all the time in our heads, right? Talking, replaying. We all have it. And so we get to control that. That is in our control, and it will change the way we come across to the world, and thus change things that we see and recognize and things that happen. So let's talk that through, because I just shoved a lot into that little introductory sentence. And I'm going to try to page down and actually, okay, there we go. So let's be responsible. And I'm sorry, I don't know why that's like sitting right over, there we go. Let's be responsible. These are challenging times. Nothing I'm saying is going to indicate that we should just say, woohoo, nothing bad is happening. Let me just do whatever the heck I want. We need to be responsible citizens. We need to do, take precautions in the best way we know how to, and we need to understand the facts of what's going on. That's important. There are people at high risk, and we need to be responsible. However, staying informed is not the same thing as living in fear and anxiety all the time. And unfortunately, some of us are falling victim to that because we're letting all that come in constantly. And we get emotionally involved in that news cycle. And, remember, the news is about being a profit-making enterprise. So the news is sharing factual information and sharing it in a way that it catches our attention and creates ad revenue and keeps us watching. That's what the news does. So we need to choose our sources and stay informed and be responsible, but not always allow all of that to be emotionally tying us down. Okay, sorry. So our thoughts have power. And here's the interesting thing. I want you to just chew on this, because when we change what we're thinking about, sometimes what we see and recognize changes. Sometimes challenges are an opportunity. Let me change that. Most of the time, challenges are an opportunity. And it might be an opportunity for growth. It might be an opportunity for change or rest. For heaven's sake, rest. Environmental impact. It might be an opportunity for new ideas, new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking. And if we can go down that path, as opposed to just stay in that sort of fear and anxiety cycle, we might create some amazing new stuff, or we might just do some self-care that we haven't been doing in a long, long time. And that's a big deal. It matters. So this is all a bit of an intro to say, I understand that you don't want to be an ostrich sticking, is that an ostrich that sticks their head in the sand? I think it is. We don't want to be an ostrich, just stick our head in the sand, not pay attention to anything that's going on. But we want to choose our inputs, and we want to choose what we do with those inputs. So hopefully I can explain this a little bit better over the next 20 minutes and give you some action items that might be helpful. Okay. All right, it seems if I click, I can change the page. Okay, and I just made this, by the way, PowerPoint a little bit ago, because I thought it would be nice for you to have something to look at when I did this video. So please forgive in advance any typos. I did it real quick and then used it. Forgive me in advance. Okay, so here's a quote from James Allen, who wrote a long, long time ago. So, you know, he's saying man as people and all of that, but you'll get the sense of it. Language is a little bit different. So he says, man is buffeted by circumstances so long as he believes himself to be the creature of outside conditions. But when he realizes that he is a creative power and that he may command the hidden soil and seeds of his being out of which circumstances grow, he then becomes the rightful master of himself. So here's the thing. The circumstances right now are pretty tough. They're pretty tough, and some of you have much more significantly tough circumstances than others. But we don't have to be controlled by those circumstances. It's a question of whether we believe that we are controlled by those circumstances, or whether we believe that we can still make decisions and take actions and, of course, modify our behavior maybe a little bit differently than we otherwise would have. But that's within our purview, maybe is the right word to use there. Okay. So something that I have learned from Karen is this concept of a stick person. And so I want to stay on here a little bit. Thank you, Karen, for this picture, because I think it's really quite fascinating. And obviously in this little short video, I can only give you a little taste of it, but I'm just hoping that everything that you're watching here, whether you're live or whether you're catching the replay later, is something that's going to make you think and make you maybe catch yourself when you're getting into that fear and anxiety cycle. So here's what this thing means. It looks like super simplistic, right? So the head of the stick person is our mind. And so what's happening is there's input coming into us through our senses, right? We're hearing, seeing, feeling, smelling, touching, all this input from everywhere. And that's coming into our conscious mind. And our conscious mind is the factual decision-making part of the brain. We can filter what we respond to in our conscious mind. We can decide what we pay attention to. That conscious mind is able to make all those decisions, like the intellectual part of your mind. And I think there's other scientific terms for it, but I think hopefully you get what I'm saying. Now, what happens is, a huge percentage of our actual actions and thoughts and feelings are actually controlled by our subconscious mind. And so that's the part of the mind that controls, like, how do I bend my fingers? And it controls, how do I drive to work? If you've ever had the feeling of you've driven somewhere and you get there and you are thinking, I don't remember getting here, like no idea. That's what that is. So your subconscious mind has been running everything for you. It's running your bodily functions, running so many different things that we don't have time to make a decision about every single second of the day. Our subconscious mind is also where our sort of emotional thinking is. And what happens is we take in input from the outside and we add emotion to it. For example, right now we can sit and watch the news and get upset and get scared and get fearful. And that emotion shoves that concept into the subconscious mind. And it starts to create this kind of thinking and feeling loop in that subconscious mind, which then affects our body in the sense that it affects the actions we take. So we've got input coming in. We could decide what input we react to and what input we don't here, but as soon as it gets attached with emotions, now it's sitting down in the subconscious. We don't even necessarily realize it's there. It's starting to become habitual and emotionally charged, and that's going to affect the actions we take with our body, which is then going to affect whatever reactions we get from the outside world. So what really got me interested when I started learning about this is there's something in scientific research when it comes to this called the reticular activating system, RAS, reticular activating system. So this is in your conscious mind, in your brain, and what it is there's so much input in our world on a day-to-day basis surrounding us at all times. What color is this? What shape is this? Who said this? What do they look like? What does everything smell like? You know, it's just a mind-boggling amount of input in our world at all times. And so what the reticular activating system does is it kind of, rose-colored glasses just came to mind. Kind of that concept. It filters all that input, takes in the pieces of input that it chooses to take in and recognize, and just ignores everything else. So how does it choose? It chooses what input it takes in because it chooses what agrees with our sort of definition of the world. So maybe this has happened to you. We, years and years ago, the thing is so old, it's just shocking, bought a light green minivan. I don't know why people make light green minivans, but anyway, we have a light green minivan. And I thought at the time that I wasn't thrilled about the color, but whatever, I didn't care that much. But I thought I had never seen a car that color before. It was such an unusual color. And I'm sure this has happened to you before. Now I'm driving the minivan. I'm seeing the same color everywhere. Everywhere, like car after car is the same color. I literally feel like I've never, ever seen this color before. It was there. I wasn't recognizing it because it wasn't part of the filter that I was using to filter my reality. It was there. Now I know this color exists. I'm thinking, well, I have this color, so other people must, subconsciously. So now I see it. It was always there. So we filter the input from our reality to equal what our subconscious mind is habitually trained to believe and feel and think. And so because of that, it changes the way we interact with the world. And I hope that that makes sense. I'm just kind of trying to show you why those deep emotions and thoughts that are going around our heads, going around our heads, going around our heads really do matter. They really do matter. And what happens is our bodies start sort of operating on an emotional frequency. And so if you take like an emotional scale, you have down at the bottom where, you know, you're sad or angry or jealous or those kinds of things. And then up higher would be happy and excited and You get the idea. So our thoughts that are connected to those emotions are actually operating on frequencies. And again, there's science behind this, which is really fascinating. And if the least I can do is get you to start reading a bit more about this, it's quite fascinating. So that's a great outcome as well. They've done experiments where people have sent thoughts to each other. And it's just incredible. So all of our thoughts are on different frequencies. And so as we've taken in this emotional state from this fear and anxiety that's operating around us, we've taken it in, we've started gnashing our teeth about it. It's constant, constant, constant. We're getting emotionally involved. We're feeling it. We're feeling it. We're now putting out a vibration of that as we're taking action and as we're communicating with people in the world. And that's going to change what we recognize, and it's going to change what comes back to us as well, because we're going to see people and opportunities and decisions and situations that are on the frequency we're on. So if you've ever felt like, you just were, you were in a situation where it was like everything you touched was going great, you just had this streak of luck, you were probably on a high frequency. Or if you felt the opposite, right? Some days like nothing is going right, like nothing is going right. Well, something is going on probably with your emotions, and you're in a very different frequency and giving off a very different frequency. So I say all that to show you that it's a big deal what we allow in to our subconscious mind and the emotions that we're experiencing, and we need to recognize that. And I'm going to give you some kind of action steps and ideas to help you change too, if that's something that you want to do. Okay, so here's what I'm saying. Most of us, and believe me, I am not perfect. I am still learning this. Karen would tell you that this takes practice and we all fall off the wagon sometimes. But most of us use our results, and by results, I mean a very general thing. This is what's happening in the world, what happened in a particular situation, our sales sheet, our salary, our results in any broad sense of the word, things going on in our lives. Most of us start from there, and those results then dictate how we think. So let's say we're in sales, we're having a down month, and we're kind of like, ugh, it's a down month. Like, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I just must not be able to do this, or this virus, like everything is a mess. I may as well just give up. Like, I don't know what I'm going to do. We let our results dictate our thoughts, which then of course dictate how we feel, whether we feel fabulous or whether we're quite low. And that dictates our actions. You're not going to take inspired, creative action. You're in this low, either sad or fearful or depressed feeling state. And so what happens when we take sort of low power actions or no actions? Well, we get those results that we didn't want, and we keep going in that cycle. So oftentimes, and there, in fact, was a quote that I was going to add in here. Now I can't remember what it was. Oftentimes, if we sort of feel like we always are getting the same experiences and the same results, we got to change the way we think in order to change that. Otherwise, we do recycle our experiences. And that's especially important now when all we might be doing is still recycling the same thing, but then adding in extra fear, extra anxiety from all the stuff going on in the world. So doubly important that we give a try, at least, to changing this cycle a little bit. So the other way that this might go is that you might start at thoughts. And this takes some work. It takes some work to learn how to do this. It's absolutely possible, and I'm getting better at it all the time. And I know others who are working on this and getting better at it all the time, but it is not the typical way that we think. It's just not. So if I start with thoughts, I mean this. Let's take the situation we're in now. Maybe I am aware, obviously, that I need to live a bit differently. I need to be a responsible citizen. I need to be working from my home. I need to be careful of germs and all these things. But I start to think, what can I do creatively for my business or for my family or for, I don't know, for a new adventure that we want to have today? It can be small or big. And I just kind of try to think about that in a way where I'm not taking into account anything else. I'm saying, okay, well, what do I want to do in this situation? Like, how do I want it to be? I'm just letting my imagination go. What do I want this to look like? And I'm almost daydreaming about it, quite frankly. You can create that. Human beings have 6 of what we call higher faculties. And it's funny, I made my notes on my slides and I made them so quick that now I can't see them. So that's great. So perception, will, reasoning, intuition. I'm not going to be able to tell you the others. Imagination. And there's one more, which I will have to put in the comments when I post this recording. There's a couple I want to focus on. Perception, will, reasoning, imagination in particular. So there's always a different way as we're trying to focus on putting our thoughts where we want them and focusing them on what we want. There's always a different way to look at a situation. So when we first started today, I was saying that, you know, some realtors I'm good friends with on Facebook had been saying how the market was a disaster. It's not going to come back until next year. Yet we just sold our house for more than the asking price. So that's a different perception to look at the real estate market. I do not agree with their perception of it. I look at it from a different perception. There's always another way to look at a situation. You just have to say yourself, okay, I know there's another way to look at this. What is it? Just let your brain kind of chew on that. Just open up that possibility. And then imagination is what I'm talking about, where, you know, take 5 or 10 minutes and just think, how do I want this day to look? Like, here I am in this situation. I understand I have to be, you know, careful about the virus and all of that. How do I want this day to look? How do I want it to be? What do I want my business to look like? What do I want my family to be able to do? You're going to come up with cool ideas if you allow that imagination to happen. And then you're going to use your will and your reasoning to hold on to that. And that's might be the hardest part, quite frankly, to hold on to that, attach some feelings to it, get excited or happy about this idea that you've had, or this amazing day that you've imagined. Or I'll give you another example. So my daughter graduates from high school in June. I have decided that I choose to believe that her graduation will go as normal. That's what I believe. I choose to. There's not a single person who can prove me wrong at this time. I'm excited about it. I'm attaching feelings to it, and I am sitting there with that thought. Why not? Now, that's probably going to change the way I act, maybe the way I come across to people. And this obviously is a small, very straightforward example, but this could be true about anything. We've attached some positive feelings to something we've come up with in our thoughts. It's going to change the way we act. It's going to change the way we come across, which is going to change the results we get and the way people respond to us, which is going to make it even easier to hang in there with those kind of thoughts. So if we take that strength of will and take that imagination and let this be our guide as opposed to this, it really makes a crazy huge difference. And these are just things that I never thought about before, and I get excited if you can't tell. So I hope it's making sense. So Earl Nightingale is one, I don't know if it's fair to say one of the first, one of the early 20th century, early 20th century, mid 20th century, I suppose, writers and speakers about success, personal development, mindset, all of these things. So you can absolutely Google and find some books and some recordings. The language is a little different, right? Because it was a little bit of time ago, but really, really an amazing guy. So here's a quote that I've always liked of his. He says, whatever we plant in our subconscious mind, remember that's the part that's the emotions, and that it's operating most of our behavior without us even realizing it. Whatever we plant in our subconscious mind and nourish with repetition and emotion will one day become a reality. So it's that tape running, 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 running in our heads, especially if our emotions are now running with it, whether negative or positive. When that emotion is running with it, it's really planting into that habitual thinking in the subconscious mind. It affects what's coming. Now, let me just say a caveat. I'm not saying you can control everything that happens in the world. Obviously, that would be crazy to think that. But you can control the way you interact with your world. And that affects what happens. And that's major, because all those little tiny small things add up. And that's kind of what this is saying. It all adds up. Okay, so how do we do this? So let's look at one more example, and then I'll give you some action steps. And I'm mindful that I don't want this to go too long, so we'll hurry it along. Okay, so here's just one more example of this stick person, conscious, subconscious mind idea. So let's say that you have a business that is your business right now. Now, even if you're an employee, you could be thinking this for your whole company as well. So I think it's probably still valuable for people. This is an example Karen gave to us this week. So you're thinking in your conscious mind, I want my business to grow. Like, I want our company to grow. I want my business to grow, whatever type of business you're in. Go, 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 success, success, success. But there's input coming in, right? There's input coming in from the news, from other people, from all this kind of negativity and fear that's now saying, well, nobody's spending any money. Like, stores are closing, everything is failing, everybody's at home, nobody's spending money. And we start to get that fear and that emotional attachment to that idea. And so what this means is a huge percentage of our behavior is controlled by that subconscious mind. So it's now affecting our actions, changing the vibration that we're on. So first we were like, I want my business to grow. Let me figure out something to do, but nobody's spending any money. This is a disaster. It's going to go on for months and months. Like, it just feels hopeless. So I'm not going to take actions that are going to create positive results when I feel that way. And so guess what? Now I start to see evidence in my world that nobody's spending money. But let me tell you this, people are. People are. So we've put our house on the market. We've been at Home Depot needing things for the house. Someone bought our house. We bought a house. People did work on the house. We were always operating in a way that was smart in terms of distancing and cleaning and cleaning and cleaning. Oh my gosh. But I see evidence around me everywhere that people are spending money, that the economy is operating. People are doing, takeout food to help the restaurants. I see that evidence because I'm coming from a different way of thinking about it. So that reticular activating system and those emotions that we get involved in are changing what we see, which is changing how we act, which is changing what we get. Okay, so what do you need to do? That was a lot of stuff, and I'm trying to explain something that I learned over months and months. So if that was a little bit confusing, reach out to me. I am happy to connect you with Karen if you think that a coaching program is something that might be helpful to you, or just answer your questions or let you know some things you might want to read and look at. Okay, so what can we do? Let's say we catch ourselves, we've gotten up, we started the day with the news. Choose your source carefully, first of all. Please choose your source carefully and do it in very small increments. Be informed, but be informed and let it be facts, and then stop. So when you catch yourself going into this negative emotional spiral of fear and worry, catch yourself. See if you can pick out what thought is on repetition for you. And ask yourself, is this like a fundamental truth that is 100% factual? So for example, let's say I'm thinking to myself, the economy is ruined. We won't be back to normal until like 2021. Is that 100% factual that we won't be back to normal until 2021? There's absolutely no way anyone could know that for sure. There's no way. This has never happened before in the same way it's happening now. There is no way that is a fundamental truth. So there is a chance that that negative idea might not happen. Do you see what I'm saying? So then think about how you're reacting with this belief that, everything is a disaster for the rest of this year. How is that making you feel? Is it making you feel fearful? Is it creating anxiety, sadness, any of those negative emotions? If that's the case, then let's just try something. What's the opposite of that belief? So in my example, the opposite would be this is going to be short term. Countries in Asia are already on the downswing in terms of new cases. Somebody told me Singapore already is basically done with this virus. So I choose to believe this is going to be short term, like the actions we're taking now are going to work and we're going to be back to normal in a fairly reasonable amount of time. How does that make me feel? Well, it makes me feel more freaking empowered than the other belief did. I mean, like, I know we got some hard stuff to get through, but that makes me feel a lot better. And it makes me feel like there's a light at the end of the tunnel. And I feel a bit more empowered to go ahead now and take action and do things that I need to do in my life. So now, if I hang on to that new way of looking at the same situation, it's going to change everything about how I go about my day. And if I can really implant this new way of looking at it, using my imagination, sit and imagine, daydream. Oh my gosh, when we go back to normal, like, how exciting is that going to be to eat in a restaurant? Kids are going to be in school. They're going to be able to graduate. People are going to have jobs. Our environment's a bit healthier, so maybe we can make some good changes as we go back to normal. Use that imagination. Feel it. Feel the positive side of that, because let me tell you, what you were thinking about that was negative probably is not 100% factual, because we don't necessarily know. I hope that makes sense. Now, if someone is sick, someone is is dying of something, and that is a fact, and that's what's happening, then of course you're going to be upset. Spend the time you have with that person in the best way you can is probably the way that you flip that belief. But there's a lot of stuff running in our heads that's not 100% factual. I just encourage you to think about that. Can I prove this? Or is it just something that my fear is telling me over and over? And what would be the opposite? Can I believe in the opposite? Can I disprove that or prove that? Probably no in either sense. So let's try believing in the opposite. See how that feels. It's really kind of shockingly different in the way your body, your feelings, your health even. It's really good for your health and your immune system to change the way you think about these things and to give yourself some empowering beliefs. Like, I feel good even talking about it. Okay, so what can you do? Let's create some daily habits that are going to help you. And this is a big deal. We're in a situation that is hard. So the more things that we can do on a day-to-day basis to help ourselves, the better. So daily habits. You can do this in the morning. You could do it before bed. You could do it both. Gratitude is one of the most powerful emotions you can possibly imagine. And I promise you, there's something you can be grateful for in any situation. And if it's a really dire, terrible situation, I'm not saying to you flippantly that, oh my gosh, I'm so happy this terrible thing is happening to me. I'm saying maybe there's a small thing. Thank goodness it's sunny today while I'm going through this. I feel at least good for that. Thank goodness my family's with me, or whatever. Thank goodness I had an ice cream cone last night. I don't know. Make a list every day of, 5 things or 10 things you're grateful for. It doesn't even matter. They can be tiny. But here's the key. Attach some emotion. Feel it. Feel the feeling of being outside in the good weather. Feel the feeling of doing something fun with your family. Feel the feeling of whatever it is that you've just written down that you're grateful for, even if it's tiny, even if it's, I made brownies and they were yummy. Like, feel it. They were yummy. That was cool. Like, it's good. Feel the good. That's a great daily habit. You cannot be mired down in negative stuff while you're feeling grateful about something. It is not possible. Okay, affirmations. Now, sometimes this feels a bit silly at the beginning, and I understand that completely. Affirmations are statements that you can write down, use the present tense. You can read them to yourself every day. You can write them every day. There's all kinds of recording apps you can use. You can listen to them all the time. It would be something like, I'm so happy and grateful now that my business is growing even in this time. I'm so happy and grateful now that all my family is healthy. Of course, those are the only two examples I can think about right now, but hopefully you get the idea. Those are things that maybe you don't jive with quite yet because you're a little bit stuck in the negative. But the way that we kind of retrain our subconscious is what's called constant spaced repetition. So over and over and over, space, over and over and over, space, over and over and over, new ideas, attaching some emotion. Like when you write or read or listen to your affirmations, feel good. It's so exciting that my business is growing like crazy right now. I'm so happy that whatever, like feel it. And do this a lot, a few times a day if possible. Take some time to create a habit, of course. So never ever beat yourself up if you're not doing it. Just start again. But it's powerful. And then when I say visualize goal, daydream. You know what? Even in the midst of having to work at home or shelter in place, you can think about what your day should be like and how you want it to be. You can design the best shelter in place at home day with your family that you can. Just daydream on that. Feel it, think it, visualize it. Goals can be that simple. You can also have obviously big, huge goals about your business or about your health or about being in shape or whatever it is. Let yourself visualize those. Play a movie in your head of achieving those things and feel it. Do you get like that common denominator? Feel it. Okay, so as much as possible while you're trying to create these new habits, take in positive information and positive influences. So that's like this video. Please, please, once you've seen this, feel free to check in with me. There are some great authors out there you can look for. Bob Proctor, Brene Brown, Byron Kelly. Oh, shoot, there's one that's sticking in my head that I can't get out of my head. Mel Robbins. They have YouTube videos. They have books. There's more. I mean, ask me if you're looking for more things. Read those things. Listen to those things. Google and listen to a YouTube. Listen to a SoundCloud. SoundCloud is a free audio app. There's so much out there that you can kind of keep taking your mind in this direction. And it's going to help, especially regularly. And then I said, the last one, find a mastermind. Now, if you were in a business, you would definitely want to have a mastermind group. I have a mastermind group. I have a team in my business, but I also have a mastermind group in different businesses. We meet once a month. My team is huge, amazing support. But even if it's not business we're talking about, if it's life, I'm going to try to say this so it doesn't sound harsh. Think about how the people that you spend time with make you feel. Are they lifting you up? Are they supporting you? Are they making your day better? Are you excited to see them? Or is it a relief to end the interaction with them? Are they bringing you down? It's hard if you realize that some people in your life are bringing you down. And I don't discount that at all. But it's important to realize that, because a mastermind is a group of people who lift you up and who help you stay on this train of, I control my thoughts and my thoughts control my actions, and that controls things that are happening to me. It's important. So just evaluate and find some people that you can spend more time with, interact more with, I suppose now talk more with, message more with, whatever it's going to be right now, that are lifting you up, and limit to the extent you can the ones that are not. And you might not be able to, and I'm not saying cut someone totally out of your life, especially if it's your family, which a lot of times it is. Just be wise about that and make sure you have enough of these positive influences as well. Just know and understand that that's what you need in order to stay in this place. So I hope that that was helpful. I know a lot of people are going to be watching the recording, so I will I was going to say I would take questions, but this has gone a bit long, so I don't think I will. But comment, message me with questions. I'm happy to talk with you further. Thank you for watching, both live and on the recording. And I hope that this is helpful to you in some way. Have a good night.